Shabbat Shalom Yasharallah. We are in week 11 of our Torah portions covering Genesis 44, verse 1 through 47, verse 12. Stopping in the middle of the chapter, and I'll say why when we get there. This portion will be covering the finale of the sons of Yaakov and Yaakov himself being reunited officially with their long lost brother, Joseph. Probably definitely the most emotional part of the story of Joseph is this week Torah portion. So before we get started, let's get a prayer in. All together, Yasharallah. Heavenly Abba, high in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. We thank you for all that you do, Haya. Free us from this world and allow us to walk in righteousness and to continue to fear you, because it is the duty of mankind to keep your commandments and to become one with your kingdom. All we ask is the strength and endurance to do so. In the name of Yasha, Shabbat Shalom, Amen. A lot of the book of Jasher today, because it's story time, and Jasher is going to give us the details that we want. All right. So we haven't moved much, but I like showing the timeline. Just be where we're at. And we're slowly just inching on the timeline at this moment. Where Manasseh and Ephraim's been on the scene for maybe a decade at this point. And as we see, Joseph's sons born in Egypt. And now we're in the midst somewhere here where, like I said, the sons of Jacob and Jacob comes into Egypt. All right, Genesis 44. We will be starting off reading 1 through 13. Then we're going to be hopping in the book of Jasher in almost every single break we have. So let's get it on.
Genesis 44. And he commanded the steward of his house, saying, fill the men's sacks with food, as much as they can carry, and put every man's money in his sack's mouth, and put my cup, the silver cup, in the sack's mouth of the youngest, and his corn money. And he did according to the word that Joseph had spoken. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away, they and their asses. And when they were gone out of the city, and not yet far off, Joseph said unto his steward, up, follow after the men, and when thou dost overtake them, say unto them, wherefore have ye rewarded evil for good? Is not this it in which my Lord drinketh, and whereby indeed he divineth? Ye have done evil in so doing. And he overtook them, and he spake unto them these same words. And they said unto him, wherefore saith my Lord these words? God forbid that thy servants should do according to this thing. Behold, the money which we found in our sacks' mouths, we brought again unto thee out of the land of Canaan. How then should we steal out of thy Lord's house silver or gold? With whomsoever of thy servants it be found, both let him die, and we also will be my Lord's bondmen. And he said, now also let it be according unto your words. He with whom it is found shall be my servant, and ye shall be blameless. Then they speedily took down every man his sack to the ground, and opened every man his sack. And he searched, and began at the eldest, and left at the youngest, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they rent their clothes, and laded every man his ass, and returned to the city.
All right, let's go into the book of Jasher, chapter 53. And before we even get into the details of this story, I want to give a reminder from last week where we left off in Jasher 53:22 that Benjamin knows of the plan that's going on right now. So Benjamin is honestly kind of sort of on Joseph's side, because Joseph already told Benjamin exactly what's going to happen, and Benjamin's keeping it under wraps. So just as a review, Jasher 53 verses 21 and 22. And Benjamin said unto Joseph, I can see by this that Joseph, my brother, sitteth here with me upon the throne. And Joseph said unto him, I am Joseph, thy brother. Reveal not this thing unto thy brethren. Behold, I will send thee with them when they go away, and I will command them to be brought back again into the city, and I will take thee away from them. And if they dare their lives and fight for thee, then shall I know that they have repented of what they did unto me, and I will make myself known to them. And if they forsake thee when I take thee, then shalt thou remain with me, and I will wrangle with them, and they shall go away, and I will not become known to them. Very important detail, because we're going to see this, especially in the book of Jasher, that Joseph is, it doesn't disclose this information at all in the canon. But in the book of Jasher, Joseph really does push the limits of his brothers to see if they have truly repented of their actions for what they have done to him. All right, so now let's get into the details of what we just read in this week, taking them back home after tricking them by leaving the possessions or putting possessions in their property. All right, so now we're going to read 27 and 32, same chapter 53. And they hastened, and each man brought down his sack from his ass, and they looked in their bags, and the cup was found in Benjamin's bag. And they all tore their garments, and they returned to the city, and they smote Benjamin in the road. So I say this because Benjamin is, a part of the plan. He knows this, right? But they're still like punishing him, continually smiting him until he came into the city, and they stood before Joseph. And Judah's anger was kindled, and he said, this man has only brought me back to destroy Egypt this day. And the men came to Joseph's house, and they found Joseph sitting upon his throne, and all the mighty men standing at his right and left. And Joseph said unto them, what is this act that you have done, that you took away my silver cup and went away? But I know that you took my cup in order to know thereby in what part of the land your brother was. And Judah said, what shall we say to our Lord? What shall we speak? And how shall we justify ourselves? Elohim has this day found the iniquity of all thy servants. Therefore has he done this thing to us this day. And Joseph rose up and caught hold of Benjamin and took him from his brethren with violence. And he came to the house and locked the door at them. And Joseph commanded him that was set over his house that he should say unto them, thus says the king, go in peace to your father. Behold, I have taken the man in whose hand my cup was found. All right, back to the canon. We're going to read the rest of 44, 14 through 34.
And Judah and his brethren came to Joseph's house, for he was yet there. and they fell before him on the ground. And Joseph said unto them, What deed is this that ye have done? Wot ye not that such a man as I can certainly divine? And Judah said, What shall we say unto my lord? What shall we speak? Or how shall we clear ourselves? God hath found out the iniquity of thy servants. Behold, we are my Lord's servants, both we and he also with whom the cup is found. And he said, God forbid that I should do so. But the man in whose hand the cup is found, he shall be my servant. And as for you, get you up in peace unto your father. Then Judah came near unto him and said, O my Lord, let thy servant, I pray thee, speak a word in my Lord's ears, and let not thine anger burn against thy servant, for thou art even as Pharaoh. My Lord asked his servants, saying, Have ye a father or a brother? And we said unto my Lord, We have a father, an old man, and a child of his old age, a little one. And his brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother, and his father loveth him. And thou saidst unto thy servants, Bring him down unto me, that I may set mine eyes upon him. And we said unto my Lord, The lad could not leave his father, for if he should leave his father would die. And thou saidst unto thy servants, Except your youngest brother come down with you, ye shall see my face no more. And it came to pass, when we came up unto thy servant my father, we told him the words of my Lord. And our father said, Go again, and buy us a little food. And we said, We cannot go down. If our youngest brother be with us, then we will go down. For we may not see the man's face, except our youngest brother be with us. And thy servant my father said unto us, Ye know that my wife bare me 2 sons, and the one went out from me, and I said, Surely he is torn in pieces, and I saw him not since. And if ye take this also from me, and mischief before him, ye shall bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave. Now therefore, when I come to thy servant my father, and the lad be not with us, seeing that his life is bound up in the lad's life, it shall come to pass, when he seeth that the lad is not with us, that he will die. And thy servants shall bring down the gray hairs of thy servant our father with sorrow to the grave. For thy servant became surety for the lad unto my father, saying, If I bring him not unto thee, then I shall bear the blame to my father forever. Now therefore I pray thee, let thy servant abide instead of the lad, a bondman to my lord, and let the lad go up with his brethren. For how shall I go up to my father, and the lad be not with me, lest peradventure I see the evil that shall come on my father?
All right. Just FYI, let's remember, this feels similar in the sense of age, that the canon makes it seem like Benjamin is like a teenager or something, right? Just kind of like how they make it seem like Isaac is a very young person at the sacrifice, when in actuality Benjamin has 10 sons. He just is the youngest and the last child of his favorite, Rachel. But just want to throw that out, because as I was reading it, to me, it just makes it feel like he's very young. And that's just not the case. It's just, kind of sort of his favorite in a sense, the youngest and the favorite, because it's the last of Rachel. So just putting that in perspective. All right, so we got a long read. Jasher 54. We're going to read 1 through 65. Said it, a lot of the book of Jasher. Let's get it on. And when Judah saw the dealings of Joseph with them, Judah approached him and broke open the door and came with his brethren before Joseph. And Judah said unto Joseph, Let it not seem grievous in the sight of my Lord. May thy servant, I pray thee, speak a word before thee. And Joseph said unto him, Speak. And Judah spoke before Joseph, and his brethren were there standing before them. And Judah said unto Joseph, surely when we first came to our Lord to buy food, thou didst consider us as spies of the land, and we brought Benjamin before thee, and thou still makest sport of us this day. Now therefore let the king hear my words, and send, I pray thee, our brother, that he may go along with us to our father, lest thy soul perish this day with all the souls of the inhabitants of Egypt. Dost thou not know what two of my brethren, Simeon and Levi, did unto the city of Shechem, and unto 7 cities of the Amorites, on account of our sister Dinah, and also what they would do for the sake of their brother Benjamin? It's getting real right now, y'all. Judah's not playing. Verse 6. And I with my strength, who am greater and mightier than both of them, come this day upon thee in thy land, if thou art unwilling to send our brother. Hast thou not heard what our Elohim, who made choice of us, did unto Pharaoh on account of Sarah, our mother, whom he took away from our father, that he smote him in his household with heavy plagues, that even unto this day the Egyptians relate this wonder to each other? So will our Elohim do unto thee on account of Benjamin, whom thou hast this day taken from his father, and on account of the evils which thou this day heapeth over us in thy land. For our Elohim will remember his covenant with our father Abraham, and bring evil upon thee, because thou hast grieved the soul of our father this day. Now therefore hear my words that I have this day spoken unto thee, and send our brother that he may go away, lest thou and the people of the land die by the sword, for you cannot all prevail over me. And Joseph answered Judah, saying, why hast thou opened wide thy mouth? Hey, listen up to this. Tell me this doesn't sound like two brothers going back and forth in this chapter. Why hast thou opened wide thy mouth? And why dost thou boast over us, saying, strength is with thee, as Pharaoh liveth? If I command all my valiant men to fight with you, surely thou and these thy brethren would sink in the mire. And Judah said unto Joseph, surely it becometh thee and thy people to fear me, as the Adon liveth. If I once draw my sword, I shall not sheath it again until I shall this day have slain all Egypt. And I will commerce with thee and finish with Pharaoh thy master. Wow. And Joseph answered and said unto him, surely strength belongeth not alone to thee. I am stronger and mightier than thou. Surely if thou drawest thy sword, I will put it to thy neck, in the necks of all thy brethren. And Judah said unto him, surely if I this day open my mouth against thee, I will swallow thee up, that thou be destroyed from off the earth, and perish this day from thy kingdom. And Joseph said, surely if thou open thy mouth, I have power and might to close thy mouth with a stone, until thou shalt not be able to utter a word. See how many stones are before us. Truly, I can take a stone and force it into thy mouth and break thy jaw. And Judah said, Elohim is witness between us, that we have not hitherto desired to battle with thee. Only give us our brother, and we will go from thee. And Joseph answered and said, as Pharaoh liveth, if all the kings of Canaan came together with you, you should not take him from my hand. I mean, woo, he is pushing some buttons. It's getting very, you can feel the tension. Now, therefore, go your way to your father, and your brother shall be unto me for a slave, for he has robbed the king's house. And Judah said, what is it to thee, or to the character of the king? Surely the king sitteth forth from his house throughout the land, silver and gold, either in gifts or expenses. And thou still talkest about thy cup, which thou didst place in our brother's bag, and sayeth that he has stolen it from thee. Yeah, I like what you said, Liz. This is prophetic later with the house of Judah and the house of Yasharallah. Obviously, Ephraim is from the seed of Joseph, which is Israel. Allah forbid that our brother Benjamin or any of the seed of Abraham should do this thing to steal from thee or from anyone else, whether king, prince, or any man. Now therefore cease this accusation, lest the whole earth hear thy words, saying, for a little silver the king of Egypt wrangled with the men, and he accused them and took their brother for a slave. And Joseph answered and said, take unto you this cup, and go from me, and leave your brother for a slave, for it is the judgment of a thief to be a slave. And Judah said, why art thou not ashamed of thy words, to leave our brother and to take thy cup? Surely if thou giveth us thy cup, or 1,000 times as much, we will not leave our brother for the silver which is found in the hand of any man, that we will not die over him. And Joseph answered, and why did you forsake your brother and sell him for 20 pieces of silver unto this day? And that's another thing too. It was actually Judah himself that sold Joseph. It was Judah's idea. And, it was obviously the plan of the Most High, but it was Judah himself that decided to sell Joseph. So Judah knows 100%, and he is getting convicted by it, because obviously this is only going to bring him to more anger to be getting accused by, this king right here, right? That he doesn't know is Joseph, obviously. All right. Why then will you not do the same thing to your brother? And Judah said, the Adon is witness between me and thee, that we desire not thy battles. You see, like Judah ignores him. Like Judah, that's the funniest thing. You'll see that every time Joseph brings up what Judah did to sell Joseph, Judah pretty much ignores it, because he has nothing to say about it, right? He just wants to get Benjamin back. The Adon is witness between me and thee, that we desire not thy battles. Now, therefore, give us our brother, and we will go from thee without quarreling. And Joseph answered and said, if all the kings of the land should assemble, they will not be able to take your brother from my hand. And Judah said, what shall we say unto our father when he seeth that our brother cometh not with us, and will grieve over him? And Joseph answered and said, this is the thing which you shall tell unto your father, saying, the rope has gone after the bucket. And Judah said, surely thou art a king, and why speakest thou these things, giving a false judgment? Woe unto the king who is like unto thee. And Joseph answered and said, there is no false judgment in the word that I spoke on account of your brother Joseph. For, see, he brings it back in. For all of you sold him to the Midianites for 20 pieces of silver, and you all denied it to your father, and said unto him, an evil beast has devoured him. Joseph has been torn to pieces. So either Joseph was given this understanding by the Most High, Or Benjamin could have told them when it was, when him and Benjamin was talking before they left initially. But either way, Joseph has the understanding of what transpired after he was sold. And Judah said, behold, the fire of Shem burneth in my heart. Now I will burn all your land with fire. And Joseph answered and said, surely thy sister-in-law Tamar, who killed your sons. Oh, I mean, he's digging on them now. Killed your sons, extinguished the fire of Shechem. And Judah said, if I pluck out a single hair from my flesh, I will fill all Egypt with its blood. And Joseph answered and said, such is your custom to do as you did to your brother, whom you sold, and you dipped his coat in blood and brought it to your father in order that he might say an evil beast devoured him, and here is his blood. And when Judah heard this thing, he was exceedingly wroth, and his anger burned within him. And there was before him in that place a stone, the weight of which was about 400 shekels. And Judah's anger was kindled, and he took the stone in one hand and cast it into to the heavens and caught it with his left hand. And he placed it afterwards under his legs, and he sat upon it with all his strength. And the stone was turned into dust from the force of Judah. And Joseph saw the act of Judah, and he was very much afraid. But he commanded Manasseh, his son, and he also did with another stone like unto the act of Judah. And Judah said unto his brethren, let not any of you say, this is an Egyptian, this man is an Egyptian, but by his doing this thing, he is of our father's family. And remember, Simeon said the same thing about Manasseh when Manasseh handled him and put him into bondage the first time they left Egypt. So before they even was told this, Judah and Simeon already was calling Manasseh couldn't be an Egyptian for the strength. And yeah, Manasseh's a youngin right now too. And Joseph said, not to you only is strength given, for we are also powerful men. And why will you boast over us all? And Judah said unto Joseph, send, I pray thee, our brother, and ruin not thy country this day. And Joseph answered and said unto them, go and tell your father, an evil beast has devoured him, as you said concerning your brother Joseph. He's not playing. That's what I was saying in the beginning. These are two brothers bickering back and forth, and Joseph is making sure he gets his point across by all means necessary. All right. And Judah spoke to his brother Naphtali, and he said unto him, make haste, go now and number all the streets of Egypt, and come and tell me. And Simeon said unto him, let not this thing be a trouble to thee. Now I will go to the mount and take up one large stone from the mount and level it at every one in Egypt and kill all that are in it. Oh, it's getting heated. And Joseph heard all these words that his brothers spoke before him, and they did not know that Joseph understood them, for they imagined that he knew not to speak Hebrew. So they were talking about doing, getting ready for battle in Hebrew, and they didn't know Joseph knew that they were getting ready for it. And Joseph was greatly afraid at the words of his brethren, lest they should destroy Egypt. And he commanded his son Manasseh, saying, go now, make haste, and gather unto me all the inhabitants of Egypt, and all the valiant men together, and let them come to me now upon horseback and on foot, and with all sorts of musical instruments. And Manasseh went and did so. And Naphtali went as Judah had commanded, for Naphtali was light-footed, as one of the swift stags, and he would go upon the ears of corn, and they would not break under him. So, man, I guess very swift, light as a feather is the gist of what they're saying here. And we also will see this. This is a foreshadowing of Naphtali being used also later next week. Actually, next week's Torah portion. We'll see it next week's Torah portion, that Naphtali was also used in the same fashion to run and deliver a message or to receive something very swiftly. And he went and numbered all the streets of Egypt and found them to be 12. And he came hastily and told Judah. And Judah said unto his brethren, hasten you and put on every man his sword upon his loins, and we will come over Egypt and smite them all, and let not a remnant remain. And Judah said, behold, I will destroy 3 of the streets with my strength, and you shall each destroy 1 street. And when Judah was speaking this thing, behold, the inhabitants of Egypt and all the mighty men came toward them with all sorts of musical instruments and with loud shouting. And their number was 500 cavalry and 10,000 infantry and 400 men who could fight without sword or spear, only with their hands and strength. And all the mighty men came with their great storming and shouting, and they all surrounded the sons of Yaakov and terrified them. And the ground quaked at the sound of their shouting. And when the sons of Jacob saw these troops, they were greatly afraid of their lives. And Joseph did so in order to terrify the sons of Jacob to become tranquilized. And Judah, seeing some of his brethren terrified, and said unto them, why are you afraid, whilst the grace of Elohim is with us? Be strong and have good courage, because Elohim is with us. And when Judah saw all the people of Egypt surrounding them, at the command of Joseph to terrify them, only Joseph commanded them, saying, do not touch any of them. And Judah hastened and drew his sword and uttered a loud and bitter scream. And he smote with his sword and sprang upon the ground. And he still continued to shout against all the people. And when he did this thing, the Adon caused the terror of Judah and his brother to fall upon the valiant men and all the people that surrounded them. And they all fled at the sound of the shouting, and they were terrified and fell upon the other, and one fell upon the other, and many of them died as they fell. And they all fled from before Judah and his brethren, and from before Joseph. And while if they were fleeing, Judah, his brother, pursued them unto the house of Pharaoh, and they all escaped. And Judah again sat before Joseph and roared as at him like a lion. Come on, I mean, the foreshadowing of this, right? What other emblem would the house of Judah fit, right? And he roared at him like a lion and gave a great and tremendous shriek at him. I mean, this is so much like he's like, I want my brother back. He's not playing. And the shriek was heard at a distance, and all the inhabitants of Shechem heard it. Succoth heard it, and all Egypt quaked at the sound of the shriek. And also the walls of Egypt and the land of Goshen fell in from the shaking of the earth. And Pharaoh also fell from his throne upon the ground. And also all the pregnant women of Egypt and Goshen miscarried when they heard the noise of the shaking, for they were terribly afraid. And Pharaoh sent word saying, what is this thing that has this day happened in the land of Egypt? And they came and told him all the things from the beginning to end. And Pharaoh was alarmed, and he wondered and was greatly afraid. And his fright increased when he, let me say this. You see this Lion of Judah, and this is exactly why kings come from this line, and why the Messiah is coming back as a lion, because this is how he's coming back. He's coming back for his kinfolk. He's coming back for his people, just like this. Man, they need to make a movie with the story of Joseph with the book of Jasher. It's unbelievable. Let's continue though. And his fright increased when he heard all these things. And he sent unto Joseph, saying, Thou hast brought unto me the Hebrews to destroy all Egypt. What wilt thou do with the thievish slave? Send him away, and let him go with his brethren, and let us not perish through their evil, even we, you and all Egypt. And if thou desirest not to do this thing, cast off from thee all my valuable things and go with them to their land. Wow. He's terrified for his life. He doesn't care anymore. If thou delighteth in it, for they will this day destroy my whole country and slay all my people. Even all the women of Egypt have miscarried through their screams. See what they have done merely by their shouting and speaking. Moreover, if they fight with the sword, they will destroy the land. Now, therefore, choose which thou desirest, whether me or the Hebrews, whether Egypt or the land of the Hebrews. Wow. And they came and told Joseph all the words of Pharaoh that he had said concerning him. And Joseph was greatly afraid at the words of Pharaoh. And Judah, his brethren, were still standing before Joseph, indignant and enraged, and all the sons of Jacob roared at Joseph like the roaring of the seas and its waves. And Joseph was greatly afraid of his brethren on account of Pharaoh. And Joseph sought a pretext to make himself known unto his brethren, lest they should destroy all Egypt. And Joseph commanded his son Manasseh, and Manasseh went and approached Judah and placed his hand upon his shoulder, and the anger of Judah was stilled. And Judah said unto his brethren, let no one of you say that this is the act of an Egyptian youth, for this is the work of my father's house. You know, when you just know your Ruach is telling you, Judah knows. He's like, I don't care if they say this is Egyptian. This is not an Egyptian man. And Joseph, seeing and knowing that Judah's anger was stilled, he approached to speak unto Judah in the language of mildness. And Joseph said unto Judah, surely you speak truth, and have this day verified your assertions concerning your strength. May your Elohim, who delighteth in you, increase your welfare. But tell me truly, why from amongst all thy brethren dost thou wrangle with me on account of the lad, as none of them have spoken one word to me concerning him? And Judah answered Joseph, saying, surely thou must know that I was security for the lad to his father, saying, if I brought him not unto him, I should bear his blame forever. Therefore I have approached thee from amongst all my brethren, for I saw that thou was unwilling to suffer him to go from thee. Now therefore may I find grace in thy sight, that thou shalt send him to go with us, and behold, I will remain as a substitute for him, to serve thee in whatever thou desirest. For wheresoever thou shalt send me, I will go to serve thee with great energy. Could you imagine Judah being your servant? Good gracious, what a servant. Send me now to a mighty king who has rebelled against thee, and thou shalt know what I will do unto him and unto his land. Although he may have cavalry and infantry or an extending mighty people, I will slay them all and bring the king's head before thee. Dost thou not know, or hast thou not heard, that our father Abraham with his servant Eleazar smote all the kings of Elam with their host in one night? They left not one remaining. And ever since that day, our father's strength was given unto us for an inheritance, for us and our seed forever. And Joseph answered and said, you speak truth, and falsehood is not in your mouth. For it was also told unto us that the Hebrews have power, and that the Adon, their Elohim, delighteth much in them. And who then can stand before them? However, on this condition will I send your brother, if you will bring before me his brother, the son of his mother, of whom you said that he had gone from you down to Egypt. And it shall come to pass, when you bring unto him me his brother, I will take him in his stead, because not one of you was security for him to your father. And when he shall come unto me, I will then send you his brother, for whom you have been security. And Judah's anger was kindled against Joseph when he spoke this thing, and his eyes dropped blood with anger. And he said unto his brethren, how does this man this day seek his own destruction and that of all Egypt? And Simeon answered Joseph, saying, did we not tell thee at first that we knew not the particular spot to which he went, and whether he be dead or alive? And wherefore speaketh my Lord like unto these things? And Joseph, observing the countenance of Judah, discerned that his anger began to kindle when he spoke unto him, saying, bring unto me your other brother instead of this brother. And we're going to pause there. We're going to pause right there and get back in the canon so we can try to keep it as close as possible with the book. Wow. What a movie. This is a very good book. I mean, we all know that a lot of the movies actually steal from scripture, but we need a real movie of scripture, right? Too good. It's too good. All right, so we're going to go back in the canon and get into chapter 45. And we're just going to read 1 through 3 and get right back in the book of Jasher.
Genesis 45. Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him. And he cried, cause every man to go out from me. And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians in the house of Pharaoh heard.
Oh, one more.
And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph. Doth my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, but they were troubled at his presence.
All right. Back in the book of Jasher. We're just continue reading where we left off. We're going to read 66 to 72 now. And Joseph said unto his brethren, surely you said that your brother was either dead or lost. Now, if I should call him this day, and he should come before you, would you give him unto me instead of his brother? He's still testing them, still. And Joseph began to speak and call out Joseph. Joseph, come this day before me and appear to thy brethren and sit before them. And when Joseph spoke this thing before them, they looked each a different way to see from which Joseph would come before them. And Joseph observed all their acts and said unto them, why do you look here and there? I am Joseph, whom you sold to Egypt. Now, therefore, let it not grieve you that you sold me. For as a support during the famine did Elohim send me before you. And his brethren were terrified at him when they heard the words of Joseph, and Judah was exceedingly terrified at him. And when Benjamin heard the words of Joseph, he was before them in the inner part of the house. And Benjamin ran unto Joseph his brother and embraced him and fell upon his neck, and they wept. And when Joseph's brethren saw that Benjamin had befallen upon his brother's neck and wept with him, they also fell upon Joseph and embraced him. And they wept a great weeping with Joseph. All right. Woo! I mean, oh my goodness. Such an emotional scene right here. Could you just imagine that long, and then just all the guilt too, the guilt and everything being lifted off their shoulders. And the first thing Joseph says is don't worry about what you did to me. This was all by purpose of our Creator. And just couldn't imagine just the emotion and the weight lifted off his brothers. And then Joseph, just everything. Wow. All right, back in the canon now. We're going to read the rest of chapter 45, 4 through 28. Well, and technically, I wouldn't make Judah the bad guy. Yes, Judah sold Joseph, but let's remember, Simeon and Gad, it was Gad. Was it Dan or Gad? Correct me if I'm wrong. What was the two brothers that wanted him dead? I know it was Simeon. Was it Gad or Dan? Which one was it? Anybody know? No, it wasn't Reuben. I think it was Dan. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Simeon and Dan wanted him dead. So there's levels to this. I mean, of course, selling your brother isn't good, but he did sell him. Yeah, Reuben was a good guy in that story. Reuben wanted to save and redeem him to his father. Judah sold him so he wouldn't be killed by Simeon and Dan. Get a little recap right there. So just sorting it all out. In other words, majority of them really had a weight lifted off because, think about it. If he did die, could you imagine their sorrow if they found out Joseph died? There would have been a weight that would have never been lifted off of them. All right, so we're going to finish the entirety of 45 now. Like I said, 4 through 28. Let's do it.
And Joseph said unto his brethren, come near to me, I pray you. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves, that ye sold me hither, for God did send me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years hath the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years, in the which there shall neither be earing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve your posterity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God. And he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Haste ye, and go up to my father, and say unto him, Thus saith thy son Joseph, God hath made me lord of all Egypt. Come down unto me, tarry not. And thou shalt dwell in the land of Goshen, and thou shalt be near unto me, thou and thy children, and thy children's children, and thy flocks and thy herds, and all that thou hast. And there will I nourish thee. For yet there are 5 years of famine, lest thou and thy household, and all that thou hast, come to poverty. And behold, your eyes see, in the eyes of my brother Benjamin, that it is my mouth that speaketh unto you. And ye shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and of all that ye have seen. And ye shall haste and bring down my father hither. And he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept. And Benjamin wept upon his neck. Moreover, he kissed all his brethren, and wept upon them. And after that his brethren talked with him. And the fame thereof was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying, Joseph's brethren are come. And it pleased Pharaoh well and his servants. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Say unto thy brethren, This do ye, lade your beasts, and go, get you unto the land of Canaan. And take your father and your households, and come unto me, and I will give you the good of the land of Egypt, and ye shall eat the fat of the land. Now thou art commanded, this do ye. Take you wagons out of the land of Egypt, for your little ones, and for your wives, and bring your father, and come. Also regard not your stuff, for the good of all the land of Egypt is yours. And the children of Israel did so. And Joseph gave them wagons according to the commandment of Pharaoh, and gave them provision for the way. To all of them he gave each man changes of raiment, but to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver, and 5 changes of raiment. And to his father he sent after this manner, 10 asses laden with the good things of Egypt, and 10 she-asses laden with corn and bread and meat for his father by the way. So he sent his brethren away, and they departed. And he said unto them, See that ye fall not out by the way. And they went up out of Egypt, and came into the land of Canaan unto Jacob their father, and told him, saying, Joseph is yet alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart fainted, for he believed them not. And they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had said unto them. And when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father revived. And Israel said, It is enough. Joseph my son is yet alive. I will go and see him before I die.
All right. All right. Let's go into the Targums now. All right. We're going to read this is chapter 45, verse 24 through 28. And he dismissed his brothers to go and said to them, Do not contend about my having been sold, lest you quarrel in passing along the way. So this is what he was implying, like, don't start talking and tripping on each other about me being sold, or tell dad and get everybody disgruntled. Go in peace and be happy and deliver the message and bring my dad back. All right. And they went up from Egypt, Mizraim, and came to the land of Canaan unto Yaakov their father. And they declared to him, saying, Joseph is yet alive, and is ruler over all the land of Mizraim. but his heart was divided because he did not believe them. And they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had spoken to them. And when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to bring him, the spirit of prophecy, which had gone up from him at the time that Joseph was sold, returning, rested upon Yaakov their father. And Yasharallah said, many benefits has the Adon wrought for me. He delivered me from the hand of Esau, and from the hand of Laban, and from the hands of the Canaanites who pursued me. And many consolations have I seen and have expected to see. But this I had not expected, that Joseph, my son, should yet be alive. I will go now and behold him before I die. All right, now we're back in the book of Jasher, chapter 54. 54 is ridiculously long, 110 verses, and we almost going to read the whole thing. So now we're at 89 all the way to the end of it, to 110. 89 to 110. And he commanded them, saying, when you come into the land of Canaan, do not come suddenly before my father in this affair, but act in your wisdom. And Joseph ceased to command them, and he turned and went back to Egypt. And the sons of Jacob went to the land of Canaan with joy and cheerfulness in their father Jacob. And they came unto the borders of the land, and they said to each other, what shall we do in this matter before our father? For if we come suddenly to him and tell him that the matter, he will be greatly alarmed at our words and will not believe us. And they went along until they came nigh unto their houses, and they found Serach, the daughter of Asher, going forth to meet them. And the damsel was very good and subtle, and knew how to play upon the harp. We see that the harp is used to settle down and to bring joy and calm to also King Saul. And that's how David got in the house of Saul before he was crowned. He played the harp. It's almost like this, it's almost foreshadowing of, same idea. And they called unto her, and she came before them, and she kissed them, and they took her and gave upon her a harp, saying, go now before our father and sit before him, and strike upon the harp and speak these words. And they commanded her to go to their house. And she took the harp and hastened before them. And she came and sat near Jacob. And she played well and sang and uttered in the sweetness of her words, Joseph, my uncle, is living. And he ruleth throughout the land of Egypt and is not dead. And she continued to repeat and utter these words. And Jacob heard her words, and they were agreeable to him. That's true. That's in the book of Gad, the harp by what was her name? Yeah, the daughter of David. What was her name? Played the harp yeah. And he listened while if she repeated them twice and thrice. And joy entered the heart of Jacob at the sweetness of her words. And the spirit of Elohim was upon him, and he knew all her words to be true. And Jacob blessed Serach when she spoke these words before him. And he said unto her, my daughter, may death never prevail over thee. Remember that right there. May death never prevail over thee, for thou hast revived my spirit Only speak yet before me as thou hast spoken, for thou hast gladdened me with all thy words. And she continued to sing these words, and Jacob listened, and it pleased him, and he rejoiced, and the spirit of Elohim was upon him. While if he was yet speaking with her, behold, his sons came to him with horses and chariots and royal garments and servants running before them. And Jacob rose up to meet them and saw his sons dressed in royal garments, and he saw all the treasures that Joseph had sent to them. And they said unto him, be informed that our brother Joseph is living, and it is he who ruleth throughout the land of Egypt, and it is he who spoke unto us as we told thee. And Jacob heard all the words of his sons, and his heart palpitated, like, beats fast or irregularly at their words, for he could not believe them until he saw all that Joseph had given them and what he has sent him, and all the signs which Joseph has spoken unto them. And they opened out before him and showed him all that Joseph has sent, and they gave unto each what Joseph has sent him. And he knew that they had spoken the truth, and he rejoiced exceedingly on account of his son. And Jacob said, it is enough for me that my son Joseph is still living. I will go and see him before I die. And his sons told him all that had befallen them. And Yaakov said, I will go down to Egypt to see my son and his offspring. And Yaakov rose up and put on the garments which Joseph had sent him after he had washed and shaved his hair. He put upon his head the turban which Joseph had sent him. And all the people of Jacob's house and their wives put on the garments which Joseph had sent them, and they greatly rejoiced at Joseph that he was still living and that he was ruling in Egypt. And all the inhabitants of Canaan heard this thing, and they came and rejoiced much with Jacob that he was still living. And Jacob made a feast for them for 3 days. And all the kings of Canaan and nobles of the land ate and drank and rejoiced in the house of Yaakov. And we're going to read verse 1 and 55 to set the storyline. And it came to pass after this that Jacob said, I will go and see my son in Egypt, and then come back to the land of Canaan, which Elohim has spoken unto Abraham, for I cannot leave the land of my birthplace, which sets up going into chapter 46. And y'all had it in the comments, Tamar, the daughter of David, specifically the full story in Gad the seer, that she also played the harp that got her out of trouble of being raped by an uncircumcised man. All right, so we are in chapter 46 now. We're going to read verses 1 through 7. Quick pause and then back on it. All right, chapter 46, 1 through 7. Let's get it going. Short delay, 1 second.
Genesis 46. And Israel took his journey with all that he had, and came to Beersheba, and offered sacrifices unto the God of his father Isaac. And God spake unto Israel in the visions of the night, and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here am I. And he said, I am God, the God of thy father. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will there make of thee a great nation. I will go down with thee into Egypt, and I will also surely bring thee up again, and Joseph shall put his hand upon thine eyes. And Jacob rose up from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried Jacob their father, and their little ones, and their wives, in the wagons which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. And they took their cattle and their goods which they had gotten in the land of Canaan, and came into Egypt, Jacob and all his seed with him, his sons, and his sons' sons with him, his daughters, and his sons' daughters, and all his seed brought he with him into Egypt.
All right. Quick precept from the Aramaic Targum, chapter 46, verse 4. All right. Right here. I am he who in my word, Messiah, will go down with thee in Mizraim, and I will regard the affliction of thy children, and my word shall bring thee from thence. We all know, foreshadowing of the Exodus. My word, Messiah brought them out. And we know the blood of the Lamb, come on. And cause thy children to come up, but Joseph shall lay his hand upon thy eyes. Just wanted to give my Messiah his shout out right there. Now back in the canon. All right, we are going to go verses 8. This is all the kinfolk of the house of Yaakov coming to Egypt. So we're going to read all of that, 8 through 27.
And these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt, Jacob and his sons, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and the sons of Reuben, Hanok and Phalu, and Hezron and Carmi, and the sons of Simeon, Jemuel, and Jamin, and Ohad, and Jachin, and Zohar, and Shaul the son of a Canaanitish woman, and the sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari, and the sons of Judah, Er, and Onan, and Shelah, and Pharez, and Zerah. But Er and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Pharez were Hezron and Hamul. And the sons of Issachar, Tola, and Phuvah, and Job, and Shimron. And the sons of Zebulun, Sered, and Elon, and Jaleel. These be the sons of Leah, which he bare unto Jacob in Padan Aram, with his daughter Dinah. All the souls of his sons and his daughters were 33. And the sons of Gad, Ziphion, and Haggai, Sunai, and Esbon, Eri, and Aradai, and Aralai. And the sons of Asher, Jimnah, and Ishua, and Isui, and Beriah, and Sarah, their sister. And the sons of Beriah, Heber, and Malchiel. These are the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to Leah his daughter, and these she bare unto Jacob, even 16 souls. The sons of Rachel, Jacob's wife, Joseph and Benjamin. And unto Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, which Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bare unto him. And the sons of Benjamin were Bela, and Becher, and Ashbel, Gera, and Naaman, Ehi, and Rosh, Mupim, and Hupim, and Ard. These are the sons of Rachel, which were born to Jacob. All the souls were 14. And the sons of Dan, Hushim. And the sons of Naphtali, Jaziel, and Gunai, and Jezer, and Shillem. These are the sons of Bilhah, which Laban gave unto Rachel his daughter, and she bare these unto Jacob. All the souls were 7. All the souls that came with Jacob into Egypt, which came out of his loins, besides Jacob's sons' wives, all the souls were 66. And the sons of Joseph, which were born him in Egypt, were 2 souls. All the souls of the house of Jacob, which came into Egypt, were 70. And he said,
all right, yes, we want to stop right there. We're going to go and just point out a couple of little details in the Targum. Let me see, verse 17. Oh, yes. Let me. All right. Let me see, verse 17. All right, so we see Serach, the daughter of Asher, the one that was playing the harp. We'll get to her in a second, but let's read this verse right here. So we have the children of Asher, who was carried away alive, into the Garden of Eden because she had announced to Jacob that Joseph still lived. What did we just read? 54:98. Bless Sirach when she spoke these words before him. My daughter, may death never prevail over thee. All right. Interesting. All right, so that was just a little detail from verse 17. And now, verse 27. Verse 27, just a little detail I thought was cool. Talking about counting all the children, right? And then it says, and Jochebed, the daughter of Levi, who was born among the hills in their journey to Mizraim. So there was one born in the hills on their way to Egypt in the wilderness. Just a little cool detail I wanted to point out as I was cross-reading with the Targums. All right. Let's get back in the canon. All right. Let's finish off chapter 46 and read 28 through 34 now. Oh, I did wanted to point out one thing. When it says, in the sum of all the souls of the house of Jacob who came into Mizraim, 70. 70 is 70. That, I mean, man, there could be a study on the numbers, the many numbers in the Bible. 70 is one of those numbers that is used frequently. We talked about the 70 languages, the 70 nations. There are 70 priests spoken about throughout Scripture, and now the family, the sum of all the family of Jacob was 70 entering into Egypt. Scripture, just repeats itself in different ways. All right, so let's finish up 46, 28 through, where are we at? 34. So let's scoot down here now.
Sent Judah before him unto Joseph to direct his face unto Goshen. And they came into the land of Goshen. And Joseph made ready his chariot, and went up to meet Israel his father to Goshen, and presented himself unto him. And he fell on his neck, and wept on his neck a good while. And Israel said unto Joseph, Now let me die, since I have seen thy face, because thou art yet alive. And Joseph said unto his brethren, and unto his father's house, I will go up and show Pharaoh, and say unto him, My brethren, and my father's house, which were in the land of Canaan, come unto me. And the men are shepherds, for their trade hath been to feed cattle, and they have brought their flocks, and their herds, and all that they have. And it shall come to pass, when Pharaoh shall call you, and shall say, What is your occupation? That ye shall say, Thy servant's trade hath been about cattle from our youth, even until now, both we and also our fathers, that ye may dwell in the land of Goshen. For every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians.
I think this is a very important detail that they put in the scriptures at the end here, talking about, remember when we read either last week or the week before, when Joseph, it had to be last week, I think, when Joseph's brother sat down and to eat with him, and they couldn't feast together because it was an abomination, because they eat the gods that the Egyptians worship, the cow, the calf. And I think even with this, the association of the difference between the Egyptians and the Hebrews correlates all the way to the golden calf and then to Moloch worship and so on. I don't think there's not a purpose on why they're showing you these separations. And in multiple times, the separations that they're showing you between the Hebrews and and the Egyptians are based on cattle and gods. And that's the very thing that is going to bring them down, because obviously the Hebrews will become associated with these gods, and they will carry them with them from the land of Egypt. All right, so let's go into Jasher chapter 55. Verse 7 through 17. And Joseph harnessed the chariot, and he assembled all his mighty men and his servants and all the officers of Egypt in order to go and meet his father Jacob. And Joseph's mandate was proclaimed in Egypt, saying, All that do not go to meet Jacob shall die. And on the next day, Joseph went forth with all Egypt, a great and mighty host, all dressed in garments of fine linen, in purple, and with instruments of silver and gold, and with their instruments of war with them. And they all went to meet Jacob with all sorts of musical instruments, with drums and timbrels, strewing mirth and alones all along the road. And they all went after this fashion, and the earth shook at their shouting. And all the women of Egypt went upon the roofs of Egypt and upon the walls to meet Jacob. And upon the head of Joseph was Pharaoh's regal crown, for Pharaoh had sent it unto him to put on at the time of his going to meet his father. Man, Pharaoh loved him some Joseph. I mean, honestly, who didn't love Joseph? If you didn't love Joseph, you pretty much hated him. That's kind of Joseph's life. You love him or you hate him. But man, if you love him, goodness, you love him. And when Joseph came within 50 cubits of his father, he alighted from the chariot and he walked towards his father. And when all the officers of Egypt and her nobles saw that Joseph had gone on foot towards his father, they also alighted and walked on foot towards Jacob. And when Jacob approached the camp of Joseph, Jacob observed the camp that was coming towards him with Joseph, and it gratified him, and Jacob was astonished at it. And Jacob said unto Judah, who is that man whom I see in the camp of Egypt, dressed in kingly robes, with a very red garment upon him, and a royal crown upon his head? Who has alighted from his chariot and is coming toward us? And Judah answered his father, saying, he is thy son Joseph, the king. And Yaakov rejoiced in seeing the glory of his son. And Joseph came nigh unto his father and bowed to his father, and all the men of the camp bowed to the ground with him before Jacob. And behold, Jacob ran and hastened to his son Joseph, and fell upon his neck and kissed him, and they wept. And Joseph also embraced his father and kissed him, and they wept. And all the people of Egypt wept with them. And Jacob said unto Joseph, now I will die cheerfully after I have seen thy face, that thou art still living with glory. And the sons of Jacob and their wives and their children and their servants and all the household of Jacob wept exceedingly with Joseph, and they kissed him and wept greatly with him. Wow. Beautiful scene. I want to see that in a movie. All of Egypt paraded behind Joseph, applauding, crying, cheering as they embrace each other. I mean, you don't even need to write a script. Between the Canon and Jasher, you have a whole script. It's all here. It is so good in detail. All right. Oh, yeah. Precept in the Targum, kind of interestingly bad, but it is what it is. It's a warning for us. So we're going to read 46, 29, let me see, and 30. Right here, paragraph right here. And Joseph made ready his chariot and went up to meet Yaakov, Yasharallah, his father in Goshen, and his father, before he recognized him, worshiped him. And it is kind of interesting. I mean, when they talk about the details, I mean, you can see that Jacob was not I don't want to say obsessed, but man, he loved Joseph over everything and everybody. But in the Targum, it says worship him. Thus became liable to be shortened in his years. And he wondered and beheld him and fell upon his neck and wept still upon his neck, because he had worshiped him. And Yasharallah said to Joseph, if at this time I die, I am comforted, for with the death that the righteous die shall I die after seeing thy face, because thou art yet alive. So, I mean, just with this, you know, you got to make sure you keep your balance, you keep your form in any scenario. And this was obviously such an overwhelming experience. I can understand, but if he did, he did. All righty. We are in the last chapter now. Chapter 47. We're going to read 1 through 12. Let's knock that out. And we are coming to a stoppage for this week's Torah portion. Shorter reading than previous weeks, but that's just how it crumbles. You know, because we got to organize it so it finishes at the end of Genesis next week. Y'all hear that, family? We are finishing the book of Genesis next week. I haven't read Genesis like I have this time around, and I'm still growing. I'm still growing in understanding. And it's just a beautiful thing. We are going to keep growing, and the more we read, the more we study, the Ruach will pour out on us. But let's finish this now, all the way to verse 12. Oh, come on. What to say? If this don't start right away, I'll just read it. All right, finish it for us. Let's do it.
Genesis 47. Then Joseph came and told Pharaoh and said, my father and my brethren and their flocks and their herds and all that they have are come out of the land of Canaan, and behold, they are in the land of Goshen. And he took some of his brethren, even 5 men, and presented them unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto his brethren, what is your occupation? And they said unto Pharaoh, thy servants are shepherds, both we and also our fathers. They said moreover unto Pharaoh, for to sojourn in the land are we come, for thy servants have no pasture or their flocks, for the famine is sore in the land of Canaan. Now therefore we pray thee, let thy servants dwell in the land of Goshen. And Pharaoh spake unto Joseph, saying, thy father and thy brethren are come unto thee. The land of Egypt is before thee. In the best of the land make thy father and brethren to dwell. In the land of Goshen let them dwell. And if thou knowest any men of activity among them, then make them rulers over my cattle. And Joseph brought in Jacob his father, and set him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Jacob, how old art thou? And Jacob said unto Pharaoh, the days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have the days of the years of my life been, and have not attained unto the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of their pilgrimage. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh, and went out from before Pharaoh. And Joseph placed his father and his brethren, and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph nourished his father and his brethren, and all his father's household, with bread according to their families.
All right. We're going to stop here because we see over here in the ESV that they actually have a title, Separation 12 and 13, because it finishes off the understanding of what happens with the famine, going into the pretty much the end of days of the 12 sons and the death of Yaakov. So I just thought it'd be a good way to finish Genesis with the finishing off the summary of what happens with the famine into the end of their days before we get into the book of Exodus. And I saw someone ask, am I going to Exodus? Absolutely. Right after next week's Torah portion, we're getting right into Exodus, no stoppage. Every single Shabbat, we are going to keep going, whatever chapters I have allotted for the week, and we'll just continue to move forward in order the way the Torah is written to us until we finish in Deuteronomy. But that being said, we have one more precept I just wanted to cover here before we come to a close of this Torah portion. We see in chapter 47, it says, and he took 5 men of his brothers. I mean, so what 5 men? The Targum actually gives us names, if just for hoops. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. And from the extreme of his brethren, he took 5 men, Zebulun, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, and presented them before Pharaoh. So just pointing out who the 5 of his brothers that he took. But that being said, Shabbat Shalom Yasharallah. This is the conclusion of the 11th week of our Torah portion. And guess what? This was not on purpose. It's going to take 12 weeks, 12, to finish the book of Genesis. How just perfectly lined up that is. But Shabbat Shalom, family. See y'all next week.